using the solutionary lens allowed me to kind of frame these big environmental problems and like social justice problems and problems in general in a way that was empowering for my students. Like, here are some big problems. They are real, they exist, and it's really scary. But as I'm framing those problems for them, we're also saying, like, we have the power to solve them, and we're going to do that work right now. I'm Sarah Hartman, and I work at Connect Community Charter School. It's in the North Fair Oaks neighborhood in Redwood City. I teach second grade, and our charter is dedicated to project-based learning and social and emotional learning, and community engagement. So taking that solutionary action is really was really encouraged by my school. I'm lucky to have that support. But honestly, the inspiration to apply for the fellowship came from my own desire to know more about this place. I'm new-ish to the Bay Area, and I think place-based education is really essential for engaging students, and I just wasn't able to give them that because I didn't know enough about the place. So that was kind of my driving force, was wanting to be able to bring local issues, environment and otherwise, to my students. I do think that since the Solutionary Fellowship, my curriculum has changed just because I'm better able to implement what my school is all about. Like, it's hard, to teach solutionary units, to teach project-based units. It takes a lot of planning and a lot of organizing, not just kind of like classroom level management, but also connecting with partners. And so this year I had a lot more guests come into my classroom via Zoom, of course. But that was amazing. And it was because through the fellowship, I made those connections with people like Safe Routes to School and the environmental volunteers and those kind of people. So that was a huge in. And then also just having the time and support and resources to plan these really in-depth units, like carving out that week in the summer to plan a really high quality unit was key, both just in having, the time to do it, but also having all of these resources, like people who their work is giving teachers like amazing activities that you can do to help kids connect with nature, and ways to kind of mitigate the scariness of talking about the climate crisis with second graders. So yeah, the resources and the time and the connections really, I would say like upped my game in terms of project-based learning and solutionary learning. Yeah, challenges, like I said, I mean, it's hard work to do these kind of units, but especially during the pandemic, my school, I was lucky enough to have students in person to some degree most of the time, but it was hard to get everybody engaged in the same problem across Zoom. I did a lot of sending materials home with students, and I think it just has a different feel than working together on a project in the classroom. Not just the community partners that we were put in touch with, or the people running the program who have these amazing resources to share, but just other educators doing this work, both spending time with them in the summer in the planning phase, but also throughout the year having coaches and like the kind of celebration towards the end. I have so much to say about that, because it really it inspired me to sign up and do this again, because I feel like the project I did was awesome. Like, my students learned so much about caring for pollinators. They planted native wildflowers in their own little pots and are, have a mini pollinator garden in their houses. But I saw so many educators doing bigger work, more community focused, like taking stock of the plants in a local park. Are they native or invasive species? And I was really inspired by the work other people were doing and loved being able to bounce ideas off of them. Using the solutionary lens allowed me to kind of frame these big environmental problems and like social justice problems and problems in general in a way that was empowering for my students. Like, here are some big problems. They are real, they exist, and it's really scary. But as I'm framing those problems for them, we're also saying, like, we have the power to solve them, and we're going to do that work right now. And I think that is the biggest takeaway that my students have from these units. Like, yes, we planted flowers and we're caring for pollinators, but mostly I want them to take away that mindset that, you know, they have power to solve problems. Well, I'm hoping kind of moving forward to take this work more school-wide. I know other teachers at my school are interested in the fellowship, but I also realized that as we were doing these kind of projects, you know, like as my students were out sitting on the pavement planting their pots, that like the 6th graders walked past and they were like, oh, we did that in the garden last week. And I was like, I didn't even know we had access to that garden space. And so I feel excited about collaborating more and taking the smaller stuff that I've done with my students kind of individually and at a classroom level and making it more campus wide and also getting out into the community. Like I said, I was really inspired by some of the other educators projects that were super community focused. Yeah, and this year I moved into the Fair Oaks community, so I now live in the same community where I teach, which I'm really excited about. And I've been kind of clued into the fact that there are a lot of little pocket parks around here that are run by other residents, that just like there's a North Fair Oaks beautification committee, and those are just people who live here. And so I would be really excited to see if we could do some work, yeah, getting outside of the campus and into the community. I definitely want to do this again, the Solutionary Fellowship again in this summer and get some more units. I'm looking forward to finding some more community partners. I would love to do some kind of like some spicier projects, a little bit more bigger scale. I think the ones that I took on this year, like, were manageable for where I was at as an educator and with the pandemic and everything. And I'm feeling more capable next year. So I want to, yeah, make things a little bit bigger and involve more people from my school, other educators, and in the community. I'm also excited about taking this solutionary lens into areas beyond just environment. I'm really excited to have this framework. I think it will help me talk about issues around like equity and race and class in ways that I've been a little like uncomfortable with in the past. And so I'm excited about kind of taking that lens and helping me develop as an anti-racist educator and bringing more social issues into my classroom as well. I would say do it, first of all. I am really grateful for the time that I spent with the Solutionary Fellowship, and it really pushed me as an educator. There's so much hard work to do around preparing our students to live in this world that has a climate crisis and these huge issues around equity. And that solutionary framework, like we were talking about, is a way to kind of expose students to those problems in a safe way, in a way that's empowering instead of putting them in this deficit position. But more than that, like more than what you can bring to your students, do it for yourself. I feel more capable of being a solutionary in my personal and professional life, like tackling problems, making change, even if it's small. And I know more about the place I'm living and what I can do to sustain it. Yeah, I really cannot recommend this fellowship highly enough. I got so much out of it.